Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Dusty here, the host of the show. If you're looking to start, grow, and monetize a YouTube channel, this is the podcast for you. We give you a behind-the-scenes look, a conversation with a wonderful creator each and every Friday morning, Eastern Standard Time. I haven't missed an episode in years. I think I missed one for an emergency a while back, but I promise you will get consistent interviews with wonderful YouTube creators here on the feed. I don't like to sell and promote a whole bunch of stuff. I just like to tell you here at the top of the show quickly, you can support us by supporting our partners and sponsors, which is TubeBuddy, the one tool I recommend all YouTube creators try. Please go check them out if you haven't already. Also, we have one of the quickest growing YouTube creator communities. There's nothing better than a mastermind, and that's what we have in our community. $5 on Patreon gets you access to that, plus our monthly mastermind calls. I promise you, you will not regret joining that. We have some wonderful creators over there willing to help people and walk people through certain aspects of the YouTube journey, so definitely check that out. And then lastly, if you're looking for a YouTube coach or consultant, I'm your guy. You can check that out in the show notes below where you can hire me for what I believe to be one of the most reasonable prices on the internet. I don't like to gouge people. I like to get on the calls with folks and talk with them about their YouTube channel in hopes of helping them and creating a bond with them that can help us grow together as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this week's conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation on the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Dusty here, as always, the host of the show, joined today by Ed Lawrence. Now, Ed has a lot of things going on. He works with creators every day, and he is living the YouTube life in a bunch of different ways and angles, and we'll definitely talk about that. So Ed has helped channels go from 0 to 100,000 subs in 6 months, 20x'd channels in 18 months, and helped small creators build and launch simple products to their audience, with the average creator making $10,000 plus in 7 days or less. Ed, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So really excited about today and the episode that I have planned out, and to basically chat with you about what you have going on. So we talked about this a bit off air, but if you would expand a little bit, tell the audience a little bit about what you do, who you are, who you're working with, and your goals and aspirations for these creators.
Sure. So I work with what I call them educators. Really, they're people who want to grow businesses. There's entrepreneurs, people who want to grow YouTube channels so that they can build a following, nurture the following, and then sell products off the back of it, particularly kind of info-based products, not like merchandise and stuff like that, but digital products, courses, and services that they can then scale. So that's I've specialized in for the last few years now. So I just help them basically grow followings and generate income online.
And you started with a channel called Film Booth. Is that correct? Can you expand on that, kind of what you did and what you learned there, what the channel was about, and then we'll go and jump springboard from that.
Yeah, sure. So Film Booth is just a channel about growing YouTube channels. It's a bit more mass. It's very hard to niche down that channel because when you use the word YouTube, it means many different things. So it is content that appeals to a lot of people on YouTube, and it's about growing channels, making videos, editing, strategy, all sorts of different things. What I learned on that channel was to niche down. So it was too broad. So the problem with that channel currently is I only appeal to about 5% of the people who are watching and my clients. So I set up another channel called Creator Booth, which is niched down specifically for the kind of people I want to target. Now, they both work in terms of generating leads and building a following, but I tell everyone to niche down. So not practicing what I preach just seemed a bit unusual. So a while ago, I set up a second channel called Creator Booth, which is more about just generating business and growing a channel for educators, as I call them.
So if there is someone out there now thinking that maybe they tried to tackle too broad of an audience, would you recommend they start over, use their current channel, do what you did? What would your recommendation be there?
It really depends on their goal. If your goal is to reach a mass audience, then that's what you got to do. If your goal is to be a YouTube creator, get into the position where you only have to work a few hours a week, take time off YouTube and your channel still grows and you still make money, then you need to niche down and solve a problem, the specific problem that a lot of people have. So it can still be quite broad. Niching down can still make you a massive channel, but you need to look at your own goal and then work out, how am I going to hit that goal? And if that goal is, I want to travel the world, I want to work 3 days a week, I want to make a ton of money, the quickest way to do it is by niching down and solving a very particular problem for a group of people, and then providing a product that solves that problem so you can become known as the person who solves that problem. If you go broad and you tackle a lot of topics, you don't become known as an expert in something. You become known as someone who talks about a lot of different things. So when you offer a product and a good product solves a specific pain, only a small percentage of your audience might be interested in that pain.
Okay.
So that's what I would think about is, what do you actually want from this, rather than I just want to get views? Because if you figure that out early and you attack it early, instead of it taking you 3 years, it could take you 12 months.
What advice would you give to someone this is a hot topic. YouTube educators, people in our space love to throw this word and term around. Find your target audience, find who you're trying to speak to. What would be your advice on that? What do you tell your clients as far as once you look at a channel, they tell you what their goals are? How can you navigate to find who that target audience is for your channel?
Really, you need expertise in something because you need credibility. And that's why channels grow very quick in the education space, because they're clearly very credible. There's a lot of people out there who maybe aren't as credible. So if you already have skills in doing something, that's the niche that you go for, the specific problem you are good at solving. Now, if you don't really know where you're going to start, you need to pick a problem that you want to go in on. And that's where I tell everyone to aim first. What's the big problem you can solve? And then let's build the channel around that. But you don't necessarily just click. So my own journey was a production company making videos for search to attract Google traffic to try and drive people to buy our video production service in the UK, which is a pretty bad use of YouTube. Then it went to just growing YouTube channels in general. So I was appealing to everyone, like videos about Mr. Beast. And then I was like, okay, this doesn't work from a business sense. I'm not niche, I'm not targeted enough. So I went after educators, and now I've niched down again. And I'm like, okay, specifically business people. And there's about 10 different people I seem to appeal to in terms of the niches they're in all the time. So it's the journey of discovery, but you need a goal to start off with. It all starts with the goal. You've got to say, what do I want? And then you say, who are the people that are going to help me hit the goal? What's the biggest problem they have? And then devote your channel to that. And if you do a good job of it and you've got credibility and expertise and you make good videos, they'll find you. And then they will start buying your stuff, which enables you to hit your goal. Kind of like a big circle, but it all goes goal, avatar, content, back to hitting your goal. It's just a journey of exploration.
And I found that works for education, entertainment channels. That really works across the board, right? Like going on the journey and figuring out who you're trying to reach. It doesn't just work for informational channels or whatever you want to call them. That just happens to be your niche, right? You're basically like you said at the top of the show, you're really wanting to walk the journey that you're preaching to your students and to your audience and to your clients. So I love that. Now, on the YouTube side of things, what are you seeing? Because you work with creators on YouTube every day, all day. You're teaching them to niche down, all the things that we've talked about. What are the main bullet points that you're working with clients from when you land that client all the way to where I went to your website and you had a ton of such positive reviews raving about your products and services, of just like screenshot after screenshot of people showing their analytics and how you've helped them just bump that up. So if you're listening to this thinking that, oh, this is just an education, no, it's not. Like, these people are really growing their channels and they're growing them to large sizes. They're just figuring out who their audience is, and Ed's helping them do that. So give us kind of the bullet points of what you're walking these creators through.
Yeah, so the first thing is they have to establish their goal. Like I said, like we cannot help anyone if they don't have a clear goal. The clearer your goal is, the easier this becomes. And by that, monetary, lifestyle, mission. Those are the three big ones. You need a mission because you'll hit your monetary goal way quicker than you ever expect. And then it's compressing. You're like, oh, so you need a mission to drive it that is a big goal. The monetary one is obviously going to help you fund the lifestyle and the lifestyle you want as a result of that money. So once you've got them, we then go, okay, who are the people that are going to help you do that? And can be tricky because often people want to serve multiple audiences at once. They want to start channels where they're like, I want to teach them productivity and I want to teach them how to make money and I want to teach them this. And it's like, you got to pick one.
That's
Just
right.
pick one, because we ain't going to be able to bring everyone back with the same level of interest. So we try and build an avatar. So I used to tell people to build 4. So it's 4 viewer profiles, but now I'm just like, just simplify it to 1. If you're just writing to one person all the time, it's way easier. So you build this idea of this person, the problem they have, the fears, the goals, the motivators. And again, this is a journey of discovery, but you can use data on YouTube to start working that out. And then when we've got that, we start to establish what sort of content they'll click on. This is very hard getting clicks. We do research. We're just trying to find patterns on YouTube, things that clearly get views that audience type would be interested in. And then we work out, we put a huge pattern bank, and we then basically ideate titles only based on data that is tied into large amounts of views on YouTube. So you can only ever, if you stick to using this pattern bank, you can only ever really come up with tried and tested thumbnails and titles, which those avatars appeal to. And then we start making, but it's like ready, fire, aim. So we do our best to come up with the best ideas, and then we have to put the content out. And this is where it's not a case of you blow up straight away. It's a case of, all right, let's put stuff out, let's see what happens, let's adjust, let's see what works. What do we make more of? If it works, it pops and more views come in, we make more of that. If it doesn't, we try and work out why. So after that, it's just a case of continually putting out videos, reevaluating. And the more you start to understand what works, the better you understand your audience. And then the more you can tweak your content to work for them. And that's it.
Yeah, so that's the basis of kind of what you walk them through and get them to the point of kind of iteration of once they realize who their target audience is, their avatar, they go from that and they start creating the content, and then they double down on what works. I love that. It's a simple process. I've looked into kind of what you do. I've watched a bunch of the videos on the Creator Booth channel as well as your older stuff to get where you're coming from. As far as the YouTube-centric things of, we talk a lot about titles and thumbnails and video production and audio. Are you giving them pointers and bits of advice here? What are the patterns and themes that you're seeing now working on YouTube in 2024 and beyond, as far as just helping them with, hey, once they get this and they realize who their person is and the people they're trying to reach and the things they're trying to sell and how much money they want, whatever their goals are, and you've already talked about that, what are some advice you're giving them on the technical side of things in regards to YouTube?
In terms of production, like actually producing the videos?
Sure, absolutely. And just post-production of kind of what they want to do after, and the thumbnails and titles and all that good stuff.
It's a boring answer, unfortunately, but it's the same as the one before. It's like you need to understand the type of content your viewer wants to watch. At the moment, there's a lot of talk about you need to scale back editing, you need to be more authentic and all this and that. It's not necessarily true. It's always been the same. You've always just needed to make what a certain viewer type might be interested in. For example, I tell people not to make videos like me. I'm like, do not make videos like I do on Film Booth, because your audience probably doesn't want tons of B-roll and tons of editing and stuff, because my content I make is inspirational to YouTubers. So some of them will watch it and not listen and just be like, that was interesting what you did in the edit. So I'm like, I'm not teaching people to make videos like me. What we want to do is figure out what sort of tone, what sort of pace, what sort of edit your viewers actually want. And in the education space, it's often not much editing at all. If you look at the biggest creators in the space that have grown in the last few years, like Danco and Nisha, they're very minimal. It's a case of going, what's the style of content they like? And then how do we produce to that style? And that often means experimenting. So sometimes they might try crazy over the top stuff, which like I make. Sometimes they might tone it down and just do a whiteboard video. But we just want to find the style that resonates and then continue to do more of that. So in terms of the edit, we'll be giving feedback. So me and my team are constantly giving feedback on thumbnails and titles, because you can't really do this on your own. It doesn't work in terms, if you want to get homepage views in particular, the thumbnail and title it's so important to getting views. And even when I'm doing them for myself, I have to have other people help me, because you need people giving you feedback, brainstorming, coming up with ideas. So we spend a lot of time helping them come up with packaging that works, giving them a lot of feedback, go back and change this doesn't work, this does. And then we give them feedback on their intros, and then we give feedback on their editing, and then stuff like presenting. They can basically ask for feedback on anything. So the whole process is around come up with your strategy and then let us, a team of experts, make it better. And as long as you stick to the feedback and keep coming back for help, it works. So that's what's missing in a lot of YouTube creators' lives. They try and do it on their own, and it just doesn't work. The best thing you could ever do is find another YouTube creator who's on a similar level, who's driven, and just meet up every week and just help each other ideate and share what works for you, even if it doesn't even matter if they're in a different niche, because you can still learn from each other. That's the secret sauce.
I love that. What are the few common mistakes that you see most creators make? Because I also do YouTube coaching, and I do average around 7 to 9 calls, sometimes less than that a week. But I would say over half of those calls, we spend half of that first call figuring out what they want to do. And that's really exactly the point that you're making this entire episode so far, is that you really have to have a direction, because if you don't, you're really just grasping at straws. You have nowhere that you're trying to lead. Even if it's money, is it money you want to make? Okay, that's fine. I don't like that to be the number one thing, but sure, that's great. I love that. You want to grow a YouTube channel, you want to make money, you're a dentist, you want to grow and get more clients for your channel or whatever. I was talking to an orthodontist a couple of weeks ago. My oldest daughter is getting braces, talking to someone in the office staff about growing their YouTube channel. And it was so funny because I work with some of these creators and they want to get these massive captive audiences, but all this orthodontist wants to do is to grow a channel that's going to attract clients in our local area. It's very simple. It's a very different kind of thought process of where they want to go with their channels. What are the mistakes that you're seeing people make right now, and how do you coach them against those things?
Yeah, I see that mistake that you just mentioned, not with my clients, but I see it for people who are probably not right for me, because generally my clients have some sort of business idea attached. So they
It's
have
an
a clear
entrepreneur,
direction.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, but what you just said is spot on. I always see in the comments, what do I make my channel about? I'm like, you shouldn't have to ask that. You just make the channel about the thing you're passionate about. And if you don't have anything you're passionate about, this is going to be tricky, because you got to talk about something you're not passionate about forever. It gets boring when you talk about your passion, right? At some point. Yeah, that's an interesting one. If you're struggling for direction, just look at the thing that interests you the most. But for me, it was packaging. Like, yeah, I used to do calls once a week. I'd have a day where I just do calls. And in the end, I just stopped doing them because it was the same problem. Every person had exactly the same problem and they couldn't see it. There's my channel going wrong. And it was always, they didn't understand how to position content. So they'd make a video, they'd think it was a good idea, and they wouldn't get any views. And the thumbnail didn't make, the thumbnail, this wasn't interesting, basically. It wasn't something their viewers would want to click on. It didn't address a big enough pain point. It was often too specific. The design was always bad. So yeah, I stopped doing the calls and just, I don't have this course anymore, but I built a course specifically just for packaging to solve it, because I could tell them on the call it was a problem, but there was nothing out there telling them how to learn Photoshop and strategy and stuff to fix it. But yeah, I shut that down in Feb to focus on other things. But that is the biggest problem. I don't think people realize YouTube is like 70, 80% about the planning. The making the video bit, and the filming in particular, is like the smallest part of YouTube. And you should be spending most of your time on the strategic side and the planning side. And that's the big mistake. A lot of people make a video and then they're like, what thumbnail and title should I put on this? And they don't give any thought to if people actually want to watch that video. They just think, oh, this is a good idea, I'll make it. It's nearly always a bad idea, because it's very hard for us to know what people want to click on without doing that research. So I'd say that's the biggest problem I see.
Yes, I did see the courses that you had, and that's where I was scrolling to see all the feedback that you were getting. And I love how you've done the website, and I think a lot of creators can take notes from what you've done as far as having a really good landing page of whatever you're trying to sell, whether it be service, digital product, coaching. I know when I launched my coaching, I thought, well, when's going to whatever, and we get around 15, 20,000 downloads of the podcast, and I had to shut it down because so many people were approaching me. So knowing how much to value yourself at, knowing how much to do all of those things is wonderful. So as far as the other things you were saying about creators not understanding and the different things about the packaging of the thumbnails and things like that, how much of the analytics and data are you looking at? Are you diving into the YouTube data with these people? Do you have people on your team who are doing so? And what are the hot buttons that you're looking at as far as watch time retention, all of those things? Can you talk about the data and analytics side of it?
Yeah, so you don't, if you do enough research and you do a good thumbnail and title, you don't need the data because you just get more views. So people spend a lot of time looking at data. They don't really understand it. There's a lot going on in the back end. People think you need a good click-through rate and a good retention, but when you get pushed to an audience, that will drop. So you'll get more views with a lower retention and click-through rate. So people look at their video and they're like, oh, I've got the best click-through rate ever, and I've got no views. And that's because it didn't reach past your core audience, who will always inflate your data. So it confuses people. So the thing that we do is we try to remove the confusion, because a lot of these guys are business owners. I don't want them distracted looking at hours at data. I just want them trying to grow their business. And so we usually just go by views. And then we say, are the views down? Yes or no? If the views are down and unexpected, then we'll just look at impressions and watch time and click-through rate, and then ask ourselves, okay, was this the core audience? Was this the wider audience? Who didn't it take with? There's only really a few options. It will either not take with your initial viewers, who YouTube tests it with. I call them core audience. If you're brand new, you won't have that. It's all about new viewers. And then you've got your casual ones who pop in and out, but they're not necessarily watching every video. And then you've got the cold ones. And I just simplify, in my brain, I just simplify YouTube down to that because it's too complicated. It's either the core audience haven't enjoyed it or clicked on it, and that means you get really low views. The casual guys weren't that interested, so maybe it'll be like not quite as good of views on launch. Or then the cold just had no interest. You can get a lot of views if you have a big core audience without it breaking out to a cold new viewership. I got 100,000 views in a week once, and 2,000 of the views were cold new viewers. The rest were just return, because I brought back a load of people who've been watching anyway. So too many people spend too long looking at the data, especially when you're small. It's only really that useful once you start to get lots, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of impressions. When you're small, the wind could blow, your click-through rate could change, and your views could go up 10, which is technically like a 50% increase, right? So you're better off just spending all of your time planning and trying to understand YouTube and patterns and what people click on and how to keep them interested than you are just trying to optimize your data. When you get to a certain size, it's definitely way more powerful, but most people never get to that size. So we're more obsessed with getting the planning right than obsessing over the data.
Hey guys, a quick pause in the interview this week to talk about my new weekly newsletter called the Entrepreneur's Minute. My plan for the newsletter is to only send out one email every week with a recap of what's going on in my business, maybe do an income report letting you know how much money I've made that week or that specific month, an update on my YouTube channel, and just a behind-the-scenes look of what it takes to be a creator, the books that I'm reading, the products I'm discovering, new AI tools and resources. So if you're just looking for a way to better connect with me, Dusty, and see what I got going on, and the different things that I want to write about each week, maybe it's my family, maybe it's my business, it's absolutely free. It's called the Entrepreneur's Minute, and I would really appreciate it. All right, now back to the show. And they're wasting a ton of time too because they're consumed with it. They're like, oh, that 48-hour, people love that, right? That 48-hour real time. Oh, I normally average 1,000. Now I'm at like 3,000. What does this mean? Why is this happening? And if you don't know where to look, you can waste a whole lot of time as a creator. The simple things, watch time, CTR, figuring out, it really goes back to knowing who your audience is. Are these, like you said, are they new people? Are they returning? And understanding the metrics behind this is important. And it can help you not only grow your YouTube channel, but grow your business as well. So I could not agree more.
I would say if you find yourself going into the YouTube studio a lot, ask yourself before you go in, what am I going to do if I see some data here that I do or don't like?
That's
and if
right.
the answer is nothing, don't go in.
Yeah, like you need to go in there with a response
Purpose.
of, is there a reason why? It's funny whenever people request it, by the way, like on these coaching calls, they'll say, hey, can you, I'll share my screen. Let's dive into my data and figure out what's going on here. And I can talk poetically about this impressions, the number of things. Maybe your thumbnails are not working, or maybe your titles are. I can tell them all these things and they don't quite understand it because they're asking me. So I have to go into these deep dives. Sometimes it takes multiple calls and they're spending money. So understanding it, having a purpose behind it, I love that. It's a great conversation to have around data. Let's go ahead and transition to monetization. This is one of your big things. You help creators make money. And that's no wonder you're doing so well and making so much money because you're helping other people get what they want, which is what the main thing that you're doing. So with that being the case, how are you making money from your YouTube channels? Talk about that. Break it down, even from like things you used to do with the old Film Booth channel. What are the ways that you've monetized and how would you encourage people to do so on YouTube as a creator?
Yeah, okay. I think everyone goes through the same journey as a creator. They know they need to build the information guys, right? Maybe not. Again, I discount this for entertainment channels because I just don't work with them. That's not my expertise. So if you're a business person or want to be a business person or you educate, everyone goes through the same journey. They build a channel and then they're like, oh, what do I sell? And there's so many options. It's like consulting, big courses, small courses, digital products. And it's overwhelming. And then people don't know what to price. They don't know how to build it. They're scared to sell to their audience. There's a huge amount of fear and overwhelm. I generally just encourage people to start small. And that's what I did. So the first thing I did was, I think it was like 10,000 views per video, something like that. I just launched a very simple 90-minute live thumbnail workshop where I did a presentation. And I sold it for $35. And I had a very small email list at the time. And I just promoted on the community wall to that email list. And it made like $7,000 in the first month. I was like, oh, that's good. So then I just left a link to it below every video. And I put it up to $59 because I thought more people bought that than I expected. So it was too cheap. So I just put the price up. And then after that, I was like, okay, that went better than planned. Why don't I build something bigger? And I built like a small course. I still called it a workshop. And I charged, that was about establishing your avatars. And I think I charged $149 for that. And I launched it. And in the first month, it made $32,000. And I was like, okay, this went way better than planned. This was too cheap. If people are spending that with me, I need something way bigger. They obviously trust me a lot. So then I was like, I'm going to go and make a cohort. So I made like a 10-week program that was a high ticket. I think it started off about $3,500, ended up about $5,500. And I ran that for 2 years. Every quarter, sold out. I just used to send one or two emails to my list and it would sell out within a few weeks. And I used to cap it at started at 25 and then I ended up capping it at 40. The last one I did. The more I did it, the quicker it sold out. And the more expensive I made it, the quicker it sold out, which is the exact opposite of what you think. But for me, it was just a case of trying stuff because there's so much. And then, oh, sorry, I've got some other stuff. Then what happened was because I had this was this thing that I would sell every quarter, I would generally have a month where the revenue was lower. So I was like, I don't want that. So I came up with another product with the idea that it was like $1,000. It was a thumbnail course and feedback community. And I thought, I'll just push that in the month where I'm not making big money, so that every month I can make big money. And that was the plan. And I did that for a year with those loads. And then basically I realized that I had 3 products or 4 products. There was another one I put in as well, just testing stuff, basically trying to work out what direction I wanted to go in. Because I realized that once you get to a certain size on YouTube, it doesn't matter what you sell. You will make money if you can do good copywriting and landing pages and marketing and come up with a good offer. If you can do that, no matter what you sell, will sell. So I was like, okay, what do I want to do? What's the thing that will give people the best result? And I like service. And I was like, it doesn't work for me to try and get thousands of people into a product because I can't service them. So I spent a year rewriting just like nonstop all day. It was like 300,000 words, my products into one. And then I launched that at the end of May. So March 20th. So it was about 6 weeks ago. I did like a soft launch to an email list and then charged more for that. And then, yeah, that went really well. But it was a journey of just experiment and see what happens. Because I believe in like optimization more than launching. So a lot of people do these big launches and they're like, oh, I really want to make as much money as fast as I can. Mine is more based on launch it. Don't put all your hopes in it, because if you've got a landing page wrong or you've positioned the offer wrong, doesn't mean the product sucks and no one wants it. It means that you can tweak it and make it better in terms of marketing. I launch and then work out, okay, did it sell that many? Could I sell more? Did I bring the right people in? What do people think of the product? And then I just tweak all these areas over the long term so that you end up with an optimized product and an optimized sales system. So you shouldn't be afraid to launch and put all of your hopes and dreams on the first week, because really it's just the start. The long-term potential of the product is where it's exciting for me. That was my own journey. And one of my products I helped creators launch a low ticket product. And that was, the average person did $7,000 in the first 7 days of the launch. And that was fantastic. I just gave them a step-by-step system. And then I ended up putting that into my main product now. But YouTubers don't realize that they have an unfair advantage, like way, way more unfair advantage. If you're on Instagram, if you're just a regular business, like pumping ads, you build so much trust with your content. You build such strong relationships. You have people waiting to support you who actually want to buy stuff from you, who want to pay to work with you. So you just have to get something out and experiment. Now, if I would advise someone, the perfect thing to do, I would say start some sort of high ticket program straight away. But you need confidence. You need experience. You need to know what to do to follow a plan. And you need to have made a load of mistakes, potentially on a smaller stage, before you go throwing large numbers around. So you can make sure you don't make any expensive mistakes, right?
Right.
That's the way I look at it.
Now, you talked about an email list in there, growing your list and things like that. Can you give some small pointers on that? What are some ways that YouTube creators can build those lists and techniques that you've used?
Yeah, so email is really important because it will all become your business. Because you can just put a message out. And I always advise people send, if they can, once a week, value-packed email. So write something very useful, and that will be your core audience. So to give you an example of how core this is, I used to send an email with a video to my email list, and it was just me sitting on my phone answering questions. And the retention was like 75, 80%. And there was no editing, me just blabbering on, because it's the guys who want to listen to everything you say. So you can tell these people are very invested in you because they're willing to sit and watch a video that would technically die on YouTube. So you want to nurture these guys, look after them, give them more value, keep building a relationship. And yeah, if you can try and send them an email once a week, you can then every now and then drop in, oh, I've got a product if you want to buy it. Or all I used to do is put PS, I've still got some spaces on my cohort. If you want to get them, click here. And that was it. It wasn't a particularly hard sell. So you don't have to create these huge automated funnels or anything. To start off with, just keep it very simple. Create a very simple sign-up page, mention it in a video, put links below your videos, mention it on the community wall, and you'll start getting people come in. And then the beauty of this is every email is me validating an idea. So I've got hundreds of titles, and I can look at my open rates and go, okay, that one resonated. And then I get replies. So when I get tons of replies to an email, I'm like, okay, that information needs to become a video because it clearly hit the mark. So you can use it to get feedback, ideas, and sales. But you don't want to do it too soon. So I look at YouTube in different levels. So level 1, you just got to focus 100% on growing the following. Once you start to get about 3,000 views per video, you can start to think about bringing in an email list because we don't want to spread ourselves too thin. And then you can start thinking about bringing in a product. But before that, just focus on the channel. This is hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight or quickly. And even you coaching people or working with people, I'm sure there's some people that you've tried to work with and it just doesn't work. It doesn't resonate with them, and they just don't do the things that's the most frustrating thing as a coach, is when you're trying to teach someone something and they're just not implementing what you're trying to teach them. And in that case, they're just wasting their money, right? I love that. What is something you wish you would have known sooner on YouTube? Like looking back at it now and you're like, man, I wish I would have known that sooner as a creator.
There's a lot of things.
Go ahead. Give me a couple.
Probably, I think one of them would be, don't look at your videos on an individual basis and as a team that grow your channel together. Because at the start, people are like, oh, I want to grow a channel, and they make like 3 videos. Yeah. And they haven't really got enough content to make a difference. Even if someone discovers them, they're not going to build a huge relationship just from 3 short videos, right? So look at each video you make as part of a giant team that create an undeniable wall of proof that you are an expert on something. And if you look at it like that, if you have a video that doesn't do that well, it's like, as long as you think that video was useful and that the people who watched it would get a ton of value out of it, it doesn't matter that they didn't get many views. Because when you have another video that works, so long as you tie them together or point end screens at them, you're going to drive traffic to them. And even if you don't, people will go to your channel page and they'll binge anyway, if you can get good at creating bingeable content. So I think it was always thinking each video had to be this like individual performer, where actually people comment to me all the time on the ones that had the least views. And they're like, oh, that really impacted me. Often the reason things get least views is because you've made it more specific to a smaller audience. So there's going to be less people interested, but the guys that are kind of like, that was amazing. That would be one thing I wish I knew sooner. The other thing would be to stop being in such a rush. I spent 3 years. I wouldn't describe it quite as putting myself through hell, but it was like 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. I didn't sleep for years. I was a mess, just trying to grow a YouTube channel because I was so desperate to get it going. And actually, I know that if you just can stick to it consistently, it will happen. The only way it won't if you quit. As long as you just keep trying to learn and adjust, just be patient. So not having patience would be another one. And then the final one would be looking at the data too much and just get YouTube Studio off your phone. You don't need to go in there more than once a week, especially if you're not launching content more than once a week. You should never be looking to see if your subscriber count's gone up a bit. I used to look and be like, oh, it ticked up another one. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, for me, it was never subscribers. It was always because I have just a tutorial channel, and so it's all search based. And so for me, it was just those 48-hour views. I would look, and is it over 100,000 in the past 48 hours? Then that's a good day for me. Or it's a good couple of days. It went down to 80? Oh no! During COVID, it went up to like 200,000. So it's just like the roller coaster of emotions of whatever that data that you think is what you need to be reaching is very detrimental to your health and to your YouTube channel. But that's really it of what you just really encapsulated there, of so many people start on YouTube, they're motivated, they're excited, and then they put 11 videos on the channel, it doesn't do what they think it should do, and they quit. And then a lot of people that approach me on social media, I'm coming back after 3 years, and I go and I look at their history, and I can tell on their channel that they've started this thing 2 or 3 different times, and they've tried to do it, and they've just fallen off every single time. And I just have to be honest with them. And I'm like, listen, I'll even give you a refund of this money. I've looked at your channel. If you're not in this thing to do it for real, then there's no point in doing it. If you're not going to give yourself a year, 2 year, 3 years worth of data to look at it and to implement and to get better incrementally, it's going to be useless. So I love the answers that you gave there. As we get close to closing out the interview, because I do like to keep them around 30 to 40 minutes, what would be some advice for creators like people starting or growing, wherever they may be on the journey of YouTube, of just like things that you don't hear very much that YouTube educators are, all the common things we hear, but what is some specific advice that you would give the people listening to this show, knowing that my target audience are creators looking to start, grow, or monetize a YouTube channel? What would you say to them?
Just stay focused. There's a lot of bright, shiny objects. You're going to get told to do a lot of things. Like people like me tell you to do all sorts of things. Really, all you just need to do is, if you really want to grow a YouTube channel, don't be trying to grow an Instagram channel. Don't be trying to grow a Twitter. Just give 100% of your focus to one goal. And if you can do that, it will work. If you are spread all over the place, it's never going to work. And I think that's one of the things I always tell my clients to do is like, shorts. Should I make them? No. If that won't help you hit your goal, it's an instant no. Yeah. Should I reply to this comment? Is it going to help you hit your goal? No. Get rid of it. You should have as much focus on that one goal as you possibly can. One thing I get people to do is write down absolutely everything they want to do or they think they need to do, and then put it in a column. You have the 2x column, which basically means it's a 2x task. The most it'll ever do is move you 2x forward, and then you have the 10x top column. So you work out, okay, editing. Editing is never a 10x task. It's always a 2x task because someone else can do it better than you or will save you time so that you can then put that into ideation and strategy. So I get them to write everything, literally everything. It'll be like, I always wanted to start a podcast, should interview anyone. And then say, just put the things that will 10x you towards that goal we've established at the start. Don't worry about anything else, or outsource it and give all of your focus to those 10x tasks. And if you do that, you move 10 times faster. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my advice.
Taking the things that are not moving the needle forward and just eliminating those, and the ones that you know are. And I think the hardest part of what you just said is knowing what those are, right? Is identifying the ones that are 10xing or 20, whatever the number is, and figuring out, oh man, when I do this thing, the channel's being pushed forward. So just to follow up, is there any advice on how to identify those quicker so you're not wasting your time and running around in a hamster wheel?
Yeah, the big ones, if you want to grow a YouTube channel, the ultimate 10x task you can learn is writing and copywriting. Yeah. Because you need to learn to hook people and you need to learn retention. But when you learn how to write, you don't just learn how to make a video. You learn how to write a social media post. You learn how to write an email for email marketing. You learn how to write sales copy. You learn how to write a job description. And if you like the system I teach, you can apply everywhere. So although it might not seem like it at that stage where you're just writing YouTube scripts, by the time you come to the position where you're ready to make a product, you have absolutely everything ready. It's the way I look at it is like bike gears, right? When you have a low gear, you're pedaling as fast as you can and the bike doesn't move that much. Mm-hmm. Writing is like putting it on 15th gear. You do one rotation of the wheel and it moves you 20 meters. So if you can master writing, that then can be applied to all the powerful areas that actually make you money in the long run.
Yeah.
And then strategy and coming up with ideas. The idea is everything. Those are the two most important those are the 10x ones.
That's powerful. Copywriting and writing is something I wish I would have worked on ages ago. It's something that now I love writing every day, whether it be for the email list or whether it be for a video or a social post. Or being a better writer also allows you to be a better speaker and communicator. As you are learning how to do things like that better, you're becoming better as a presenter, which in turn helps you. And you're right, that goes to the 10x of what you're talking about. This is helping you with story writing and socials and all of that. I love that. All right, guys, we're going to close out now. We might do a part 2 of this episode because I feel like Ed and I could speak on this stuff for another hour if we needed to. Again, Ed Lawrence is my guest today. I will put his links for his website and his YouTube channels in the show notes of this episode. Ed, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you again for joining us today.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the show for absolutely free in your podcast player of choice. Also, there are ways you can connect with us. You can support us by supporting our sponsor, TubeBuddy, as well as supporting us over on Patreon to get access to our creator Discord community. And I also offer YouTube coaching and consultation, YouTube channel reviews, and just overall business coaching if that's something that you are wanting to look into. So make sure you check us out there, and we'll see you next week.